Hello everyone, so I'm here at the residential course in Cumbria, England. You will recognise Andy Allen's with me. So we thought we'd take this opportunity to film a quick video to talk about some of our thoughts on karate. So what we thought we'd do is mix it up a little bit, talk about some negatives, some problems we see, and also some positive things we see within karate generally as well. We have no idea what the other one's going to say, so let's find out. So the first negative that we see in the karate world.
So we're talking about the applied karate? Or
any part of it you would like to see, yeah.
Does that depend on what format of karate we're talking about?
Yeah, because there's lots of different ones, so there's always going to be that having to define it, yeah.
So if we look at the applied karate world, the practical karate world, I would say, I think I'd have to address a strength at the same time as a weakness. But one strength we have, I think, is that we address all ranges, right? So we don't ignore, like in my background in Shotokan, great for flying like speed of light in straight line at long distance, okay? That was about it. But with what I've done in recent years, filling the gaps with clinch range, throwing, ground fighting, and impact work, of course. So we do a good job of addressing all those pieces, all those ranges, and filling gaps where our base style was lacking. On the negative side, perhaps, you can't be great at everything, okay? And so if your background was, let's say, Kyokushin fighting or Weichuru and in close style, then the longer ranges you might be lacking, and especially if your Kyokushin was a knockdown style, you're used to fighting with hands down, no head punches, and filling gaps with your ground fighting. So you have to, with the applied approach, we fill those gaps in where they're missing in the traditional styles. But the positive, I think, of having a particular style is that you get really good at something. And but the negative is that you're ignoring the other pieces of the puzzle. And I think that the dogma from my background in the traditional Shotokan for so many years, dogma still is a big problem where sensei says this, it must be right, we don't question. And I think that's one of the reasons that I left the traditional Shotokan, is to get away from the nonsense and get things that are more practical. But I think it was Robert Davies, he's
from the UK,
I think it was him that said this, that we do have to be careful of the same thing, because when we're looking at someone to learn applied karate, practical karate, whatever you want to call it, we have to avoid putting that person on a pedestal and that they know all the answers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that, all of that.
Yeah.
So there's the one about the phrase I always use is you can't be an expert at everything, aim to be a beginner at nothing.
Right.
So if you look at arts like boxing, for example, phenomenal punches, you know what I mean? The best punches in the martial arts world, but that's all they do. And a little bit of judo players, phenomenal throwers. And of course, if that's what you're doing, if you're doing the sporting expression, it doesn't matter.
Right.
But if you're wanting to do a little bit more broad-based, and if you're talking about like applied stuff, as one of my instructors used to say, you can be a 10th dan on your feet and a white belt on your back. So my aim is, I'm not aiming to make my karate students as good on the ground as wrestlers, BJJ guys, judo players, but I want them to have some skill with them. So if they end up there, they're not total beginners. The model I use I roughly want them to be at first dan. I want them to be as good as an orange belt or a green belt in judo would be at the ground.
Right. Similar goal for myself. For myself is to fill the gaps in, and for my students, I don't want them to become specialized in one area. I want them to be well-rounded. One of my students, you probably have seen her on my videos, Suman. She just got a brown belt this summer. She recently did a judo class, went over to Dalhousie University, did class there, and they're doing Nuwaza that night. And to them, she's some karate girl with a brown belt, but she knew some things. And so her partner said, "You know what you're doing a little bit here." So,
so again, I also think it makes it more enjoyable to learn. Mm-hmm. It's one of jokey phrase, but aim to be a martial artist, not a partial artist.
Yes.
I mean, of course, if your thing is you want to be, someone might decide I want to be a phenomenal kicker and that's all I want to do. Fine.
Taekwondo.
Pick Taekwondo. So, great. But for me, I do like that the traditional art. Like look at old school boxing. They've got throwing and weapons and all that kind of stuff. All the martial arts were more holistic, and I want that more holistic approach for that. But you're right about the dogma as well, because it's funny how that sneaks in. So sometimes, like for example, we've been doing some throwing and stuff this weekend, and you look at the old karate books, there's throwing in it. Obviously, the karate guys are not going to be as good as judo guys are at throwing, but combine that with the striking, we can certainly be competent throwers as well.
That's our Kazushi.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. The one-fisted throw, as my friend calls it, hit him and he falls over. So they'll look at things that, well, Funakoshi teaches that throw, so that's a legitimate throw.
Right.
And then if we were to look at, I might learn a throw from another source. So do judo, did judo for a while, I learned a good judo throw, I make it part of my karate, but that's not a traditional throw, because that's not in the book, you know. And the one I always, again, it's that dogma. If it's old, it's good, as opposed to, you know, and you get it the other way, if it's new, it's good, if it's old, it's bad. To me, if it's good, it's good.
Right.
But I always like the line of Funakoshi's where he describes how Azato and Itosu, he said they suffered from no petty jealousy of other masters and would send me to learn from other people the techniques at which they excelled. Yeah. Now, the modern day equivalent of that is, if a karateka wants to be, no, I want to be good on the ground, well, who's the experts on that? Go see the judo guys, go see the wrestlers, go see the BJJ guys, and then make that part of your karate. Despite the fact that some people might argue that's not traditional, right?
Right, but the way I look at things is I do some jiu-jitsu, and there's certain things in jiu-jitsu that are very sport-oriented, and they're fun to do. I'm not very good at that part of it, but so I won't bring that back into my dojo, but we'll look at some basic pins and some escapes and some submissions. I'm going to bring that, and sometimes you can find patterns in the jiu-jitsu techniques that are representing kata. Use your imagination. And that's now part of my karate. So my dojo is Nova Karate Jitsu. I dropped the do, put on the jitsu on purpose, and that's what I think it was Christian Vedava said. His sensei told him, "Go out there, learn everything you can, and call it karate." So
take what works and calls it karate.
Yeah,
which was traditionally what they did.
Right.
Which I find that, you know, they didn't learn one unchanging art. If you look at any of the major karate styles we have, they all studied more than one person, and they all blended those ideas together. Right. From different systems and arts and ideas. You think how much karate is borrowed from judo. You know what I mean? The suits, the belts, the do on the end. You know, those training ethoses, there's always been that flow of information. And I think it would be a kind of sad thing if it stops. Yeah, and again, I think that's a good point about not recreating our own dogma.
Right.
And having been aware of how karate can fall into that trap, trying to be as open as we can to it. It's one of the things that I always say for my students, I don't want them to do, I'll help them get going for their karate, and I'll share with them what I know, and they can go and learn off other people and everything too. But as an instructor, I would think I would have failed if they end up doing exactly what I've done for perpetuity.
Exactly. Yeah. Like all of us, we should take what's useful and discard what is not.
Yeah.
Because what works for you is not going to work for a smaller person. That's the way we should look at things.
Yeah, no, that's you get it. And so their karate will have its origins in mind.
Right.
As in the same way.
All these influences.
Yeah, exactly. In the same way, my karate has its origins in all of my instructors.
Yeah.
But my karate is not the same as any one of my instructors. It draws on various elements from all of it, and it's mine. Which I guess brings us to styles, and that's another dogma I think that can be a problem for a lot of modern karate, where that's not Shotokan, and therefore it gets dismissed, or that's not Wado or whatever.
Yeah. So my Shotokan background, I still move. I'm doing kumite. I still move like a Shotokan guy. If I want to, I can't take that as me. But again, you take the useful parts, you keep it, and there's all kinds of unuseful parts of Shotokan I've thrown away. So the step sparring is gone. I was doing something a little while ago. I did some Muay Thai this summer. Yeah. And because we had been doing some leg kicks in our dojo for quite a while, and I wanted to go learn a little bit more. And so we're doing some checking, right? So most of my students we're not tough as the Kyokushin people. So we bought some shin guards, and we're learning how to check. And so I shot a little video, a couple of my girls, and they did a little exchange. So there was a switch kick. They checked it and returned fire with some punches. That's my one-step sparring. That's as close as I'm going to come. But it's functional because you're developing useful habits, not stuck in the long stance and the down block and with karate-like punches. It's actual fighting technique. Yeah. No, saying that I guess it's related to the dogma. I think it was Rokas of the Martial Journey podcast. Okay,
a
yeah.
keto guy who moved
Yeah.
across.
Yeah,
Great
right,
guy, I
right,
love
right.
his channel.
Yes.
But we met at Jesse Encamp's camp once, and he was talking about the difference between explanation and justification, which I thought was
Right.
really
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
So you'll get, like you, you've got that 1 step, 3 step, 5 step bar. I could never see the value in it. I still don't see the value in it. Other than if people want to do it for the fun of doing it, right? But then you'll get justifications for continuing that practice. Historically, it's very clear it's the karateka's attempt to ape the 3 steps that you see in the judo nagano katas, where they'll unbalance and balance and throw.
Right.
So we'll block and block, and then we'll do
Kendo.
something. Yeah, exactly. Kendo with the 5 steps and stuff. But they'll get that justification for it. Well, it's good for beginners. Which I don't.
But is it?
But no, exactly. That's
Yeah.
So my thing with that is, and it's obviously I don't sure you'd agree with it. It's a martial dead end because the timing it develops is the wrong timing for anything other than 1 step, 3 step, 5 step sparring. The distancing is only associated with that type of sparring. The cadence is only associated with that type. You can't use it in self-defense. You can't use it in any form of combat sports. Therefore, I see it as a martial dead end. And when they go, it's good for beginners. Like that drill you were doing.
Yeah.
People can work that slow, and nobody gets
You can
hurt.
mix it up and add to it.
And they're learning a realistic flowing skill.
Yeah.
So we have a similar thing. I mean, we taught with my white belts are basically learning to block. One person will move around with the guards up.
Yeah.
They'll fire a straight punch or a reverse punch or a combination of the two, and the other ones just move.
Which is good for beginners.
Super
So
slow.
It's a starting point that you can build upon. So the step sparring, it's like you said, it's a dead end. It gets you good at step sparring. It doesn't develop transferable skills because it's so far removed from reality.
Yeah.
And how many times you hear someone say, "Okay, forget about that. Now we're going to do free kumite. So forget about your long stances and your down block." But why did I do this for 3 years?
Yeah. I think that's pretty good.
All right.
There's
Awesome.
hopefully a lot to think about. So thank you very much. We'll see you soon.